The Mehen team have launched the USDM stablecoin on the Cardano blockchain, and we're starting to see it now appear on various decentralized exchanges such as Genius Yield. And in this episode, I have Lars Brünjes joining me from Genius Yield and also Matt Plomin from Mehen, and we're going to go through this partnership that the teams have here in regards to bringing in additional liquidity onto the chain itself. And we're also going to go through various questions about what's happening next over the next couple of weeks, what to expect, and a few interesting questions that have popped up from the community. I've been getting a lot of questions in the YouTube channel about the minting fees, the burning fees, when can retail, will international users be able to play around with it as well? So lots of questions being answered in this episode. So let's get into it. But gentlemen, welcome back to the podcast.
Thanks, Pete. It's good to be here. Yeah.
So first off, what's coming up next and what's actually happening and what can people expect?
Well, we've already had a couple of mints. We had a few people who have gone through the process, or a few of the larger institutions have gone through the process and gone through the KYC process, gone through the onboarding, account opening, and they've started to send in test wires. So we see bits and pieces coming into the reserve account. The process right now for minting USDM is fairly manual. And so individuals who want to receive USDM, they have to send in wire transfers. So it's a little more complicated than an actual, sometimes electronic transfers. So they have to work with their own banks. They have to send in, fiat cash wires. And then once those hit the reserve account, then they're reflected in the reserve amounts and things are updated, automatically on the back end. But for now, we're onboarding people, and as they go through the process, you'll see more and more liquidity. You don't necessarily send in your big wire amount first. You send in the test one, and then you send in the big one to follow once you've ironed out the process on your own side. So that's kind of where things are going. Last night, somebody seeded a pool at MinSwap, and one of the early mentors, and that's caused a little bit of chaos in the ecosystem. But I think that once we see the order book DEXes start getting online, so like Genius Yield, we'll be able to find more stable price supply for the ecosystem. We're really closer to $1 than what you're seeing on the AMM DEXes.
So can we get an explanation as to what is actually happening? So people are seeing the price of USDM a little bit unstable. It's going up at the moment. Why is that exactly happening? What's the mechanics behind that to create that kind of situation?
Well, I think it's really supply and demand. I think there are a lot of people who, when you see the price, it's a lot of small trades. People just want to grab a little bit of USDM. They'll pay 5 ADA or 10 ADA to get just a little bit out of the pool, just so that they can be one of the first holders. I think that it's more of a novelty play right now for individuals who are trying to grab it. They're not trying to actually have a stablecoin, use a stablecoin, make it worthwhile in the ecosystem. I think that they're more interested in participating, being one of the first ones. And so what you're seeing now is there's about 10,000 in liquidity that got put into the pool, and then people started buying USDM. And so once you start taking USDM out of the pool, you start seeing the pricing action through the pricing algorithm, increase the price because it thinks like the demand is going to be, outstripping the supply. The problem, what we're seeing right now is, as people, there's no minting on the other side, so we can't mint extra because the reserve governs how much we can mint. So once individuals and institutions come in, supply more funds to the reserve, then we can mint more and get it out there into the supply side. So that's what we're seeing is a lot of demand, and the demand isn't like, it's not like money demand. It's like just people getting a little bit. But once you see things going out to the ecosystem, people get excited. I was texting a few friends this morning. I was like, hey, my stablecoin is mooning, and they're like, what does that even mean? Don't worry about it. It's just silly. I think at this point, we're trying to keep it stable. We've got people coming online today. We're sort of beholden to the U.S. banking daylight window, so we can only really send around money when the banks are open in the U.S. And so that's something that we're working on fixing. We'll have more things to announce in the coming weeks when it comes to additional capabilities, additional trading windows to mint USDM and that kind of thing. So there'll be a lot more coming on, but we're kind of early days and sort of like a newborn giraffe trying to find our way through and get our legs under us.
I have to admit, I was one of those people trying to get some in my wallet just to say, hey, I've got some USD in my wallet to check it out. I was going to do a post, but I just couldn't get a trade through. I tried it on Genius Yield, and I wasn't willing to pay that high price. And then I tried it on MinSwap. I was like, no, let's just wait a little bit for a little bit more liquidity to come in, and then I'll get it in my wallet properly. I won't take the DJ and play.
Yeah, the launch strategy was always to work with partners and then work with the order book DEXes to try to list it at $1 or as close to $1 as you can get when you consider local pricing on ADA.
I'd also like to go into the fact why USDM and stablecoins in general are really important for the ecosystem. Like for so long, we've been trading against the ADA pairs, and I think a lot of people have been comfortable with that. But what does the stablecoin bring to the ecosystem, and why is it so important?
I mean, I could go on this for a long time. I don't want to take Lars' time away, but broadly speaking, it's a nice touchstone for people. I think if you're a Cardano user, if you're an investor in ADA, if you have interest in the platform and the ecosystem, then you're naturally going to have ADA. And so if you have project tokens, or if you have things that you're doing in your fiat off-chain life that are tied to something that needs to be a little more stable than $1, being able to have that dollar on Cardano on chain is a little easier to manage things without having to go through centralized exchange, without having to go through the different intermediaries that would you need to get to a stable token within your blockchain wallet. So that's one big helpful thing. If you're a project, if you're Genius Yield, for example, there you have the Genius token that trades against ADA. Well, Genius Yield is incredibly operationally business levered into Cardano. And so if your token is trading against ADA and your project is highly dependent on the success of the Cardano ecosystem, then you're really doubling up your risk. And you would rather have Genius versus dollar, ADA versus dollar. Genius can then work on their own business risk and kind of hive it off from the risk of Cardano, and you can price it more accurately than when you're thinking about how these tokens should price.
I think it's also, if you're a project, there are always things that are not just on the blockchain. For example, you have to pay salaries, and there it's very useful if you can mitigate this risk of fluctuation in the ADA price.
Now, in regards to this partnership with Genius Yield, what exactly is this partnership and what does it entail?
The most important thing, of course, is that we list USDM on our exchange, and that has already happened. We also will supply some liquidity for our DEX in USDM. And we also try to celebrate it, basically the partnership, by giving some perks to traders in USDM. I'm not completely sure about the details, but I think for 2 weeks, we have this accelerated yield program where we reward trades on our DEX with gens. So we will give triple rewards for USDM trades for 2 weeks, for example. Basically celebrate the partnership and the launch.
Yeah, I did see the details of that pop up in the last meeting post. So I will bring that up on screen for everyone so that they can find out a little bit more information, and the links down below in the show notes as well. So if you want to read the article, you can. The other interesting aspect about all of this is the smart order routers, those bots that people are running. I've just configured my bot to handle USDM as well. So hopefully I can pick up some of the routers there, but then also the market maker bots as well. So I'm assuming a lot of people will be playing around with this and configuring all of those. What's the community's reaction like, and what are people doing in regards to setting up these MMBs and SORs at the moment?
I don't know whether that's specific to USDM, but we started with a setup where you needed some depth of technical expertise, because the first MMBs that we open sourced, I mean, they are written in Haskell because we use Haskell for our software. A natural barrier for people that may be very experienced traders, that have very ingenious ideas about trading strategies, but just can't write this strategy in Haskell. So one of the things we are doing, we are very, busy with right now, but almost done, is to provide a REST API for these bots, so that you can write trading strategies in arbitrary languages like in Python or JavaScript or whatever you prefer. So we hope that that will make it much easier. So our goal is to make it easy for people that have strategies but are not necessarily professional programmers to implement these strategies, and make it much easier to implement these MMBs, these market maker bots.
Yes, I've yet to implement a market maker bot myself, but would Mehen be implementing one on their side?
And that's a good question. One of the things that we are sort of limited as a company is that we can't make markets in the token. We can't seed liquidity into the liquidity pools. It's, we have a very narrow purpose as a company, and that's merely to issue and redeem the USDM stablecoin for dollars. I think that as we grow, I think we can get into that with additional licensing and authorizations from different regulators. But our authorization is solely to mint and burn the USDM token.
Right.
With that being said, individuals, team members, people who are around, they can get involved in that way. And I think that some of them are.
Wow. Okay, that's really interesting. I didn't realize you had that limitation there. So it's good to have that cleared up. So who are some of these liquidity providers that will be coming into the ecosystem, and how much are you seeing coming in? Are you allowed to say?
Well, I'm not really at liberty to say, and I think that we have partnerships with, we'll just say, a lot of the traditional players that you would see in the ecosystem that are doing this kind of thing with other projects are doing it with us as well. And I think that's really all that I could say is that we don't have we don't have hard commitments from any of them, but I think that we have strong, steadfast partners. There's a timing problem, and that's all that it is. It takes a couple of days to go through the whole setup process, and then to go through the testing process, and then to go and make it real. So I think that it's I would say wait until the end of March for things to settle down. And I hate to say that, because it's kind of, we're kind of in March Madness season here in the US for the NCAA basketball tournament, but it's kind of March Madness for Mehen as well, because we're trying to get additional liquidity providers on board we got them lined up, but it's just a matter of getting them through. And it's not just our team that takes time to get things. It's the others that take time as well to get things lined up. And there's kind of a TikTok element to it, where they have things that they need from us. We have things we need from them. We go back and forth. It's a couple of different things in the process. So it's it's fine. It is what it is. We're kind of okay with that. We're trying to keep things small, and then once we've tested things clearly and they're able to be operated cleanly, we'll be able to go in a big way at probably like early April, easy.
Okay. I'm trying to gauge how much potential USDM is going to come in over the next couple of weeks from the institutional investors, and how much liquidity of USDM is needed to create that really nice trading environment within the ecosystem. Because I know with JED and IUSD, we don't see many trading pairs for all these other Cardano native tokens. So how much is needed, and what's coming in over the next couple of weeks? Are we going to see a large amount, a good amount, to try and create this nice trading experience, or are we still very early and we'll only see trickles coming in at the moment?
I think that's kind of the takeaway, is that we're very early. We're going to see trickles, and we're going to go through a couple of rounds of this, and it'll be tens of thousands. I think I want to keep expectations tempered, and say that if by the end of the week we have $100,000 of USDM on chain, that would be a great success. And if by the end of the month we have a little more than that, 2 or 300,000 on chain of USDM, that'd be an even bigger success. And I think that one of the things we need to be careful with is to not put more into the chain than is needed, but then to have it there to supply it when people do need it. So that's this balancing act. You need to sort of slowly leg it in. I think we saw yesterday it's trading now $2, $1.90 or something. And that's kind of silly. But as you come in and things temper out, I think we'll see where that level hits. And I think there's a lot of deploy, test, measure, return, that kind of thing.
Now, I do have a couple more questions here around the more retail side of things. So from what I understand, the retail users will be able to use the platform to start minting maybe by the end of this month, maybe early April. Is that still the goal?
It is. The last thing we wanted to do was roll things out to a wide user base, only to have user experience problems or have anything be clunky. And we did experience like certain things that we have to dial in with the back end and also with the user platform. There are some terms on there that are a little unclear, and so we need to sort of iron those things out. So it's good that we minted to this little test group. We have a small group of institutions onboarding, so that then once we get to retail, we can really go and just open things up. I think that people are going to be very excited with the capability that's going to be brought on chain, and I'm nervous, Pete, to say what we're going to do and what happened, but the moment that we launched, as we launched on Saturday, it hit all of the sort of industry press over the weekend. Monday morning, I got emails that were just like the things we were waiting on for months, like it's crazy. So the things we're waiting on forever are these people responded like, oh, here we're in, we're going to open you up. We're going to get things going. And so now the work of launching the token itself and putting it out into the ecosystem has generated an exponential amount of more work to change the platform, to integrate new banking partners, to integrate new payment solutions, new opportunities to send in different types of currencies into the USDM reserve. Like the thing that got opened up on Monday was a huge can of worms that we just have to deal with, and while at the same time trying to figure out token supply, putting institutions through KYC, and getting the wires in, moving them around, testing these new banking partners together. It's really, it's going to be very good. And I can't say exactly what it is, but it's going to be very good when it happens in like the end of March.
It's a good can of worms, right? You say can of worms, it sounds bad, but this is a really good can of worms.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, okay. I also understand that with the banking partner that you have at the moment, we'll see pound sterling and euro potentially as well. So does that mean international users will be able to start minting at that point too?
Yeah, we have to check on specific jurisdictions, but there will be we'll open up the geofence to wherever we can go. Yeah.
Okay. Does that include Australia?
It would, yeah. It would.
Oh, okay, cool. Selfish question there. But
well,
yeah,
it would
be nice
to Australia. I think that what you're, the question countries we have to really dial in on with the lawyers is, will it be South Korea? We don't know. Japan, we have to think about that one. Europe is kind of tricky, in the UK. But broadly speaking, like those regions, and then we'll have to check local regulations at a couple of different spots. But I think that outside of those regions, we'll be able to solidly bring people in once the international banking stuff gets tied into the system. And then the thinking is that as we expand our banking partners to ones that are more responsive on the technology side, then we can update the Charlie 3 Oracle in real time so that people will see, we will see the deposit hit the account, the deposit then, the Charlie 3 the Oracle then updates to reflect the presence of the deposit. And then we mint the tokens that are, that are backed by the reserve. So that workflow is going to get much cleaner. Currently, we only update the Charlie 3 Oracle, or the Charlie 3 Oracle only updates itself on like I think the evenings, like around 7 or 8 p.m. And so we can't mint more token until that happens. And so it's really this kind of evening event where we can add additional supply to the to the ecosystem. And so once we can start layering in these other solutions, things happen in real time and things happen a whole lot cleaner and more quickly than they currently are.
Okay, it sounds a little cumbersome, and like you said, it's all manual process at the moment. But hopefully this does change, and you can scale this up.
I mean, it's most what I mean by saying it's manual. It's manual on the user's side. So individuals. Okay. So if I say, Pete, come on, go to the website, KYC, get your account set up, tie in a bank account, and then you go and call your bank, and then you go and put a wire instruction in, put in certain details in the wiring memo field that tie into our systems that do the back end processing. They'll view the account, they'll see the transaction hit with that number. If you manage to not enter that number correctly, or if you enter, if you say like, if you enter into the wrong field or you enter to a different piece of the wire instruction, I mean, those are the kinds of things that need to be ironed out from the user side. And it's a terrible user experience if we make you do that on your own. And they certainly can't scale that into the thousands, tens of thousands of users. So we want to get away from that. And that's what these additional partners that we've been waiting on, that have finally come online, are going to help us with. And that's going to be a much better user experience for everybody that's trying to get USDM from the source, or redeem as well. Like we do, there's not just minting, there's also burning. So you can get your dollar back. But the point is that once that process is smoother, then we'll be able to bring a lot more people on. It's really about the user experience than it is about like our platform.
Gotcha. Okay. I've also had a lot of complaints in regards to the redeeming and the burning side of things with that, the fees that are going through the platform at the moment, minimum of 50 USD, maximum of 5K, and 1.5%, however that ranges out. So what's the future of that fee? Will that fee remain? I've heard it's subject to change. And how can that change? Because it sounds like wire transfers and whatnot do cost a lot of money.
Some of them do. We have different banks that have different fees. And the one that we had on to begin with was that was about the fee. I think the fee was actually $60. So it would be a little bit we would take out of our pocket to redeem that. But the fees are going to get better, and the options for how you want your redemption are going to get better. And if you're to compare it with, let's compare it with Jed. Jed, you pay 1.5% to redeem back to ADA. Then you pay your centralized exchange, whatever they charge you to trade your ADA into dollars and withdraw it from their platform. So it's better than everything else that's out there. It's not ideal, but it's better.
Now, is there anything on the Genius Yield side that can be done to make the minting and redeeming of USDM easier? Can it be integrated into the Genius Yield interface, maybe?
That's an interesting question. I mean, I know that originally we did plan to also include fiat onboarding and things like that. So maybe we can explore that. But I'm not aware of any very specific concrete plans in that regard. But I mean, it would certainly be an interesting idea to explore.
Lastly, I'd like to congratulate you guys on where you have come, how far you've come. I still remember back in, I think it was 2022 when I met you at CNFTCon, and you were showing me your business card and asked me, hey, Pete, what do you think of the Mehen logo here? I was like, yeah, it looks really good. You really cleaned it up. And to where you are now, finally launched the platform and minting USDM on the Cardano ecosystem. That was quite a journey that you guys have gone through. Lots of ups, lots of downs. So again, congratulations to getting to this point. Any final words for the community before we wrap up this interview?
I mean, there is opportunity out there. Come and jump into our Discord, send the emails to the onboarding team, and see if you can get in. We're keeping it limited, but we could always use more, I think.
All right, brilliant. I'll make sure I put the links to everything in the show notes so that everyone can follow up on this, and also the information about the Genius Yield Accelerated Yield program as well. Everyone can still join in on that. It's quite a good reward system behind it. But Lars, Matt, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast and talking through everything about this partnership and how the USDM launch has gone so far.
Thanks, Peter.
Thank you very much for having us, Pete.
So thank you, Matt and Lars, for joining me on the episode, and thank you for watching all the way to the end as well. Now, if you want any of the links and references that we mentioned in this episode, just scroll a little bit down and you'll see the links down below. And while you're scrolling, make sure you hit that like, subscribe, and notification bell as well, so that you can be kept up to date with everything that is happening in the Cardano ecosystem. And with that, I'll see you in the next video.
Yeah, gotta do it like that. You've been listening to the Learn Cardano podcast.